Good evening, everybody. Good evening, good evening, good evening, everybody. I'm going to wait until some folks come in here. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to He Said, He Said, He Said, a look at the world from a seasoned Black man perspective. I'm Alvin King, and welcome to our show today, Friday, April the 16th. I'm waiting for some folks to get in here, so I'm going to ramble a little bit for the show. We are continuing our Manage Your Health series today, and we are talking about Black men and diabetes. We have a special, and I'm going to say special guest on the show talking with us today. And I'm waiting for some folks to come in. I see them coming in. Everybody's coming in. And we just want to, keep you guys enlightened. This is, again, our Manage Your Health series, and we've been well received. So we want to keep it going this week and talk about Black men and diabetes, but it's not just for Black men. This can pertain to all people, particularly African Americans. But welcome to the show. Hey, Keith, how you doing? I see Keith is on. You know what, Keith, you're good. Keith is always on at 7 o'clock. Keith, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Hey, good evening to you too. Let me see. We're waiting for some folks to come in here, and so I can bring my guys in here, and we can get this show on the road. How's everybody doing? If you're like me, you're suffering with allergies today, and it is like not a good feeling. But we're going to bear with it. Come on in here, everybody. Let me see. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start the show, and so we can roll right with it. Again, welcome to He Said, He Said, He Said, a look at the world from a seasoned Black man perspective. I'm Alvin King, and welcome to our April 16th show today, our Manage Your Health series, Black Men and Diabetes, Preventing It, Managing It. Before I go any further, I need to give you guys a disclaimer. This show today is about, again, preventing diabetes and managing diabetes. Neither one of us who are here today are doctors, so we're not going to talk anything about the medical side per se of diabetes. And as I've told you before, neither one of us, myself, Jacques, and Vash, we're not therapists. We're not. We do heal from time to time, but we are not therapists, and we're just here to offer our opinion. So again, welcome to He Said, He Said, He Said, and I'm going to bring in our co-hosts, Jacques and Vash. Come on in the room today, guys. Come on in the room tonight. How you guys doing?
Hey, doing pretty good. Hey, how you doing, Alan?
Hey, and TT's in the room too. Okay, look, I haven't even introduced her, but welcome to the He Said, He Said, He Said. You are here. You are here. You are here. Well, TT, we have segments of the show after we come on, and we have you can join us. We call the Ketchup. So we're gonna have a little catch up. How you guys week been? You guys week doing good?
Very good.
Doing good. I did make. I see you. I like the glasses, Jacques. What's going on? I don't think I've ever seen. Or what is it? The glasses or the haircut? What's happening? It's something.
So here's what happened. So yeah, I got rid of the facial hair. I've got a shoot coming up next month in California. So I needed to take some years off. So that's what you're seeing. I'm still seasoned.
Okay.
But yeah, it's just seasoned minus the gray.
Okay. The salt and pepper's missing, right?
Very good.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah. Hey, Derwin. Hey, welcome to the show. As I told you all, this is our Manage Your Health series, and today we're talking about Black men and diabetes, managing it and preventing it. And we have a special guest who's here tonight with us, as you can see. And before we get started, I'm going to tell you a little bit about her. Her name is Titilayo Ogunmakinwa, and we call her Titi. And she's a keenly analytical and results-oriented business professional with a diversified experience in accounting, business operations, process improvement, system implementation, and people management. Recently, she moved to the area, and she aligned purpose, passion, and people, and joined the American Diabetes Association as the executive director of the DC National Capital Area. Titilayo is looking forward to making an impact and working to better educate and engage the masses. It is her goal to motivate a massive change in the hearts and minds of all within the community that will absolutely change the trajectory of the disease in the place she calls home. A graduate of Morgan State University, ladies and gentlemen, where she received her bachelor's of accounting degree. Welcome to the He Said stage, Titilayo Ogunmakinwa. I love it.
Thank you so much for having me. I am so excited about being here and looking forward to having this conversation, hopefully to inform, to educate, empower, and of course, change the trajectory of the diabetes epidemic in our community.
Well, we're glad to have you here today. Thank you. This is the second segment of our Manage Your Health series. Our first series was on mental health awareness. So we thought that it would be a good time to bring you on. So we're glad that you could fit us in your schedule to be here today. So thank you so much. So I'm going to start the show off with my first question to you, TT. And this is to everybody who's watching, who think they know. TT, tell them, what exactly is diabetes?
Okay, so I want to start first with pre-diabetes. So let's start from the beginning.
Okay.
And pre-diabetes is when your glucose level is reaching close to what would be determined diabetes, and you begin having some problems managing your glucose level, right? So diabetes is a disease that occurs when your blood glucose levels are too high. And the blood glucose is in the body, and it's the main source of energy of an insulin to your blood supply. And what happens when you have diabetes is your body is not managing or producing the glucose in the way it should, which reduces your energy as well as your glucose levels, and there starts the problem. Mm-hmm. There are 3 types of diabetes, but the one thing that we need to be very important, we need to be very mindful of is what your A1C level is. And if it's getting anywhere close to 6.5, you have a problem. So pay attention to that A1C number and make sure that you're staying well below 6.5, but a normal A1C level would be 5.7%. And it's important to know there are 3 types of diabetes. There's type 1, and that is an autoimmune disease where your body no longer produces insulin at all, and you're insulin dependent, meaning you have to take insulin to stay alive. Then there's type 2. This is where your body is not managing or using the glucose that it's producing properly, or it's not managing enough. And this is the most common type. And then gestational, we'll leave off of this conversation, but just for people online, what it is it's diabetes in women who are pregnant.
Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
It occurs during their pregnancy. It does increase their risk to getting diabetes after, but they have to take insulin during their pregnancy.
Wow. Okay. There was a lot of information in there. So I have questions, if it's okay.
Yes.
You talked about glucose. We hear so many types of OSes: sucrose, dextrose. Where does this glucose come from, and why is it good, and how does it become bad?
Well, blood glucose is your body's main source of energy. And so as you eat, as you know, your body does things with the food that you eat. Mm-hmm. And when you're eating, your body turns some of the food that you're eating into glucose. The glucose provides your body with energy. So it keeps everything moving smoothly. Your pancreas, your kidney, all of those things are functioning and using the energy and the foods and the nutrients given off by what you eat. But the glucose needs to be formed, right? And feed your body so you can have the energy.
So then what you're saying is your body makes glucose, and then it's either going to use it or not. And it is diabetes that interplay of being able to use it or get rid of it or not kind of a deal? Is that what we're talking about?
Whether your body is using the insulin it produces properly.
Okay.
And in some cases, your body isn't producing the right amount of insulin.
Okay.
And where does insulin come into play in this whole thing?
Well, insulin is what your body needs. You need insulin to survive. It's what helps your body, your pancreas, your kidney. It's what helps everything work in tandem.
So, and that's why people who have diabetes, they have to take insulin when they have a certain type of diabetes.
Well, everyone doesn't need to take insulin. That depends on where your physician determines your A1C level and how you manage getting your A1C level. How do you manage your A1C level? So some people take pills, some people take insulin. There are different forms of medicine that can help control diabetes. It depends on what stage you're in, how severe it is, and how your body is working with the your glucose or not producing.
Okay.
So TT, I have a question. I've been reading a lot about diabetes and how diet and exercise impact diabetes. Can you share a little more about kind of what are the root causes of diabetes, and how does diet and how does our lifestyle and way of being impact it possibly one way or the other?
So when we talk about the causes of diabetes, there are a lot of causes. So I'm so happy to be here because it's important for me that we dispel some of the myths associated with diabetes. First, there are genetics. So some of us are predisposed to diabetes based on who we are, our genes, and our family history. There's also this notion and what we know we've seen during COVID-19 and being locked down, that we are becoming increasingly overweight and physically inactive and not managing our diet so well. But in addition to that, there are the social determinants of health. And that is a whole segment, a whole conversation that we can have around lack of access to resources, lack of educational resources, access to healthcare services, built environment, right? Diabetes is an expensive disease, right? Which is why it's important that we work to eradicate this and help people better manage. And a lot of people can't afford the medicines that would allow them to properly manage. Social support, social determinants of health. We could go on for days and days and days. And there are some people who don't have weight problems, right? And still diagnosed with diabetes. I want people to understand it's not always a factor of being obese. It's not always a factor of those negative things that we associated. Genes, social determinants, a lot of reasons that people are diagnosed with diabetes. But to your point, Jack, the great thing is it can be managed, and primarily through diet and exercise. Really being mindful about how we eat and making sure that we stay active.
So, TT, why is it, since we're talking about African-American men, I'm going to just make it a broader question and talk about the African-American community. You know, why is it important in our community, specifically for Black men, that we raise awareness and the urgency in addressing the seriousness of diabetes?
Okay, I have some statistics. Of course, I went to work for this, right? We knew we were going to talk about men. And I think it's important that we shock sometimes, right? To make people really listen and understand. So I was just reading a study in an article published by, I'm going to get it right, Global Qualitative Nursing Research. Are you ready for this? That report that type 2 diabetes has increased 160% for men in the United States. African American men lead the number of diagnosed cases of diabetes, right? 13.4% of all African American men over the age of 18 have diabetes. Now, what does that look like compared to African American women? We're close behind 1%, but 4.7% more than non-Hispanic white men. The death rate among African American men are 47.6 for every 100,000 deaths, right, related to diabetes in African American men. 23.3 higher than deaths among non-Hispanic white men. And of course, we know in the US, African American men are at higher risk for cardiovascular disease and stroke, which are comorbidities that are usually brought on and associated with diabetes. And I have one really, really important one. And because this is a real group, right?
As real as it can get. Bring it in here. Okay, bring it in here. That's right.
I want to talk to my Black men. I want y'all to, and I don't want this to be the reason that we're not talking about it, okay?
Okay.
But this is to bring awareness to prevent the problem. But erectile dysfunction, pretty much with men with type 2 diabetes, it is common in men who have diabetes, and those with type 2 are generally expected to have erectile dysfunction 10 to 15 years before someone not diagnosed.
Wow.
So you're saying that if men have erectile dysfunction, that could be an erectile sign that you're dealing with diabetes or not processing your glucose levels.
Absolutely. There are men who are experiencing the erectile dysfunction before being diagnosed with diabetes and before dealing with it. So it's a very serious issue in our community.
And I can't speak for all. I mean, I can't speak for anyone but myself. But my thought is on that, as men realize that they have some type of erectile dysfunction, they will just as soon go out to get pills as opposed to go and get a diagnosis.
Okay, so let's really take it in.
Okay.
So we haven't talked about the comorbidities associated with diabetes, but quickly, kidney disease, one of the main causes of kidney disease, one of the main causes of blindness, impaired vision, one of the main causes to cardiovascular. A lot of people don't know that highly related. But neuropathy, which is when you start having problems with your nerves, right?
Right.
So, Alvin, I say that to say when you talk about this pill, right? So what neuropathy does is it damages your nerves. And over time, you all listening?
I'm listening.
It's irreparable and the pill doesn't work.
Oh.
Those pills. Those pills
don't work. And I need to take a moment right here to let you know this. This is to our audience who are streaming. They are really into this conversation. I can see them, and I mean we can take a moment to read some of their questions. Hey Annette, hey Linnell, hey Tandy, hey Gina, hey Tammy, hey my God, someone is calling in from out of this country.
Zimbabwe. Yes.
Zimbabwe. So I wanted to just bring that to light because we do have a segment called What Y'all Said, and we can address some of their questions in that segment, TT, if you will hang around with us. But I did want to read some of the questions or comments that people are making. Gina said, why is it that people that get their weight below a certain limit, type 2 only, no longer have to take diabetes meds? That's one of her questions.
This is a great question because a lot of people ask me, one, can diabetes be prevented? And yes, if you get in front of it, you understand your numbers, and we can talk about the specific numbers. You definitely can prevent it through exercise, through management, working with your doctor, your medical team. But people who have been diagnosed with diabetes, I'm always asked, is it a cure? Can you be can you no longer have diabetes? Well, what we like to say is, unfortunately, there is not a cure, and it is our vision and our mission at the ADA to find that cure. But what you can do is you can not reverse your diabetes diagnosis, but it can be dormant. You can manage through diet to get off of medication.
Yes.
Bring your glucose levels down, but you will always be considered someone with diabetes. Once you are diagnosed, you will always have diabetes.
Right.
But you can manage your diabetes. It can go into remission, and you can get off the meds and stay off the meds.
Right.
I have a question, because I've seen this, documentary called Simply Raw, having to deal with diabetes, type 2 diabetes, especially using diet. Someone asked a question about preventing diabetes. Can you talk about diet and its role in both preventing as well as managing or even reversing diabetes?
Absolutely. So it's important, and I have this handy dandy food portion plate here that I'll pull out. But
Illustration.
Illustration.
So it is very important, though, that when we are eating, we are intentional about how we plan our portions, right? So half of your plate should be starchy vegetables. The other half can be a starch. No, I'm sorry, not the other half. 1/3, 1/4. Sorry. Okay, stop it.
Illustration.
Starch vegetables. 1/4 should be can be a starch, and then 1/4 a protein.
Okay.
And then how do you measure those? You take your fist, and your fist should measure about 1/4. It should be a portion. So for the starchy vegetables, that would be 2 fistfuls, or fist sizes comparisons. Yeah. Drinking a lot of water, right? And making sure that we know what type of starchy vegetables we're eating, because I learned from our nutrition team, who knew that certain, like winter squash, is high in calories and is considered a starch. Who knew?
Well, I didn't know, and the only reason I know about squash is because TT's a foodie, and we've gone out to dinner, and she orders the way she orders food. I'm sitting there. I just have to cross my hands and my arms and let her order the food. Everything is so precise, and the only time I've ever had squash was with you. That's why I'm just looking at the screen like. I've never had squash. Only when I'm sorry, I digressed a bit. Okay. She is a foodie. Okay.
I am a foodie, but you can be a foodie. That's what's important to know. You just really need to be intentional and understand your body, talking to your doctor, and being mindful about what we put in our body. And always remember, there's nothing you can't eat, but you have to do everything in moderation, right?
TT, you mentioned the A1C levels and knowing your numbers. And for myself, I'm HIV positive. I've been HIV positive and undetectable for like 16 years. And so I'm mindful of my numbers in that space. Can you educate us on what the numbers are? How do we find them out? What type of testing, preventative and managed testing we need to do in that space, please?
One of my greatest learnings at the ADA and coming here is understanding these numbers. We all go get our physicals, and you get these 2-3 page reports with enough letters that you never understand them. But it's interesting. After my first checkup, when I joined the association, the next year I said to my doctor, "Hey, what was my A1C last year?" So they go and pull out the report, and I compare it. But the first thing I saw was that I was 0.02 points away from having pre-diabetes, and he never ever mentioned it. So
Wow.
I want all of you to know that normal is below 5.7. Okay? 5.7 to 6.4% indicates a problem, pre-diabetes, and anything over 6.5%, you have diabetes. The other numbers that are very important, because we get all these numbers on this report, and they kind of work in tandem, right? So make sure that your blood pressure is 120 over 80 or less.
Mm-hmm.
Your blood sugar is less than 100 milligrams. That your blood cholesterol stays less than 200 milligrams. And your BMI, and there's all kinds of charts out there. You can check your BMI based on your age, height, weight, but it definitely should be between 18.5 and 24.9 of the BMI index. These are very important numbers.
Do you have them in a way that you can share them with us,
Right.
that we can share them on our Facebook page and in our Instagram for our readers? Because that's a lot of information. We want to make sure that everyone has it at their fingertips.
Yes.
So can we commit that we'll get that from you and we'll be able to share that with our audience?
I just shared it in our chat, so I don't know if, what I sent the producers can make sure that the group gets it. I will make sure that I share some of our resources. We have resources and links.
Okay.
I'll share it with Alvin. He can get it out to everyone.
Okay.
So to make sure you can utilize some of our resources.
Beautiful.
Yeah, because that is, I mean, that's pretty much the direction that we're going in with this one. Who is the American Diabetes Association? Tell us about some of the work that you guys are doing in this particular area.
So first of all, the American Diabetes Association celebrated our 80th birthday last year, or our 80th year of service last year. So we were very excited about that. And we are the organization who, I would say, we lead the charge with all forms of diabetes. And it's our mission, of course, to cure and prevent diabetes, but also to improve the lives of everyone impacted by the disease. So it is our strategy. And what we do is we look every day to bend the curve. So I hope all of you, please go take the pre-diabetes risk test. And then it's very important because, like I said, diabetes is not a death sentence, right? You can live, you can thrive, and you can manage your health with diabetes. So it is important that we help people living with diabetes in their family to thrive by getting to know them, showing them we know them, and showing them we care. And another point that is very important to us is that it's important for us to be good business stewards, because what we want to do is be able to provide the funding for the research and also to support the standards of care. And standards of care is, I would say, ADA's most prized possession, because what it is it's the guidance that the medical professional uses as they look at how to treat patients with diabetes. And that is something that the ADA creates and manages and updates every year, every quarter. They update it quite a bit, but this is what the professionals in the diabetes space, your physician, your primary care, your endocrinologist, your cardiologist, your neurologist, this is what they use when really looking at how to best treat patients with diabetes. Aside from that, we have a lot of programs within the community. Right now, we have our Project Power going on, which is a program to help change the trajectory of childhood obesity. I think the number is close to, I don't want to quote a wrong number, but it's hundreds of millions of children around the world are obese. And we know obese children usually become obese adults, right? So we have programs around that. We also have programs for our children, specifically with diabetes type 1 and type 2. We have some great virtual experiences. I can share that with Alvin. These are free opportunities for children. We also work with our community partners. We have diabetes prevention programs all around. So I want to share some of that, some of our diabetes education programs. One of the things that we find, of course, is when you are educated and given the tools you are better to manage, right? Adherence comes with education. And a lot of people never inquire about education, which is shocking to me. And a lot of the physicians, they really don't have time to sit down and give that one-on-one. I've talked to so many people that tell me they have been diagnosed. They're given a diagnosis. Hey, you have diabetes and here's your prescription, and out the door they go without being to drill down on those questions. So we also offer our Center for Information. And I can share that information with the group as well, where you can call and get someone inside of the American Diabetes Association to answer questions about where you can go for resources. We have resources that we share. We have a program. If you are at high risk or newly diagnosed or never been in an education program, we have our Living with Type 2 program, which is a journey for those people with type 2 diabetes that is free. You just go to our site, diabetes.org, look for the Where Do I Start or Living with Type 2 program, and you enroll, and you are then taken and joined along your journey in learning how to manage your diagnosis. But so many programs. I've invited Alvin to one of our fitness programs. He hasn't responded yet, but we have some fitness challenges out there. We have our Tour to Cure, which is a fitness campaign around cycling. Right now we have a challenge.
Yes.
We have our Step Out, which is a walk fitness campaign that we ask people to join and get active. Move your numbers. Know your numbers and move your numbers.
Well, see, now that Titi has put me on blast, okay, first of all, I'm now that she has put me on total blast, I am a diabetes advocate, and I first want to applaud the ADA with the program that they introduced right in the middle of the pandemic last year, which offered people who were having issues buying their insulin, and they had programs where people could go and basically get it for free. And now, since we're here, this symbol right here, swirls and cords. No, I didn't take on the weight challenge, but in 2015, I created an event for the American Diabetes Association called Swirls and Chords, where I bring fashion and music together for one night to bring awareness to diabetes. And I did it here in Washington, D.C., and I did it 2017, 2018, and we were all ready to do it in 2020, and COVID hit. But the beauty of this event is the ADA supports me, and there are so many people who are out there in my community of entertainment that have diabetes, that supports diabetes, and so I do my part. And though I will exercise putting on that show next year if this pandemic get out of here. I promise you I will do that. But I know that the ADA is doing exceptional work, and that is the reason why I support them, and that I will do everything in my power to help change the trajectory that TT has talked about in combating this illness. So thank you. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
I mean, because it seems that education is extremely important. And I say this knowing many people who have gotten divorced because their partners were not managing their diabetes properly.
Whoa.
So is that...
You kind of learned a little bit about that earlier, huh?
But does your program deal with that? And in terms of helping people get used to this notion of monitoring their bodies.
That's why it's very, very important for people to enroll in programs. We have certified dietitians throughout our region. On diabetes.org, you're able to find programs based on your zip code that can help you work with a dietitian. Those dietitians are able to work with you. It's personal, right? We all eat differently. We all like different things, and we all need different things. So it's important to understand, what do you need to know about calories? Some people say, oh, should I not eat this? Should I eat this, not eat this? Everybody's body is different. So there may be one diet that works very well for one group that may not work in the same way for someone else. We're all unique. So it's important to get your dietitian. It's important, again, to put together this team of doctors. Again, endocrinologist, neurologist. Of course, get your eyes checked. Please get your eyes checked. I've talked to an audiologist. They are doing studies now relating type 2 to hearing loss. So many associations to comorbidity. So it's very important that you talk to your medical professionals and put together a team. And then diabetes.org, there's a lot of education out there. Sign up for programs. We have our Living with Type 2 program. Like I said, it's free. So you sign up, you get information, you get resources that help you learn how to manage the disease. And it's important too to think about mental health, because for many, this is a disease of isolation. Children with type 1, and there are many in the African American community. A lot of people think, oh, that disease doesn't bother us. The numbers for African American children being diagnosed with type 1 is astronomical. And the same in adults. There are adults being diagnosed with type 1. So to the point of what you have to educate yourself, right? To be able to live a long life. And if you have type 2, not to be as dependent on the medicines. And if you have type 1, to be able to cope. It's hard. Imagine someone telling you, you shouldn't be eating and you have to lose 30 pounds, or you have to work out an hour a day and you hate working out, right? These things can be very, very hard to accept and very, very hard to deal with. So you want to make sure that you are taking care of yourself mentally and spiritually as well, and seeking that advice and consultation as well.
It sounds like this is an epidemic problem. I mean, to hear you talk about the doctors, the team that you need, how many people are being affected by this, why isn't this just presented as an epidemic and fought as such?
So just some quick numbers. 88 million people are impacted by diabetes. Over 34 million diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. 88 million includes those with pre-diabetes. But this is something that I think that we all need to be very, very mindful of as we come out of. And I'm saying that with all faith and positivity, that we're moving beyond what we've been doing. But in COVID-19, 40% of those that suffer fatalities had diabetes or a comorbidity associated with diabetes. Coming out of COVID-19, I just read a report, the Washington Post reported on it, 12 to 14% of the people diagnosed with COVID-19 are now being diagnosed with diabetes. And if we know the statistics around our community, right, because we saw who was being impacted by the COVID. We talked about the numbers as it relates to diabetes. So, okay.
Right.
We know it is an epidemic. It's an epidemic, and it has been an epidemic. $365 billion a year is spent on diabetes healthcare.
Well, look, we have to, because I want to get to some of these comments and questions that people have put online for us. So if we can take this time, TT, please stick with us, and we're going to go to our segment, What Y'all Said, and we're going to answer and address some of these questions and comments that people have put on here. So you guys see any that you want to start with?
I do. Is it Bernard, Francis, or Bernard? You can say it any way you want. I'm recognizing the bougie way and but talking about a third of the young persons below the age of 18 are obese in the Caribbean. I just want to say I go to the Caribbean a lot. And when I started going in the beginning, people were using coconut oil that they were making themselves to fry things. And then it became so easy to get these packets of lard that were sitting on the shelf and very stable. And I have watched, well, the whole island has watched. They've watched their rates of diabetes, obesity, etc., skyrocket because of using these different types of fats. So Bernard, know that we see you and we recognize that is affecting things. Anybody else see anything else they want to talk about?
I saw a question that was asked earlier. Well, hello, Monica. Hello, Gina. Keith said, one medication that he knew of is called metformin, which is a generic for glucophage. This taken to bring down your glucose level to normal. It's taken to prevent having to take insulin shots on a daily basis. Is there anything that you want to say to address that, TT, real quick?
I just say you have to talk to your doctor. I can't speak on one medication or the other because one medication that may work for Alvin may not work for TT, right? They do different things. So the doctor is the best consultant on that because they know your numbers, right? They know your health history. There may be medicines that you can't take with another medicine, right? Things you can't eat with certain things. So there has to be an evaluation of your total and whole health.
Alvin and Bosch, there was a question earlier about a pre-diabetes question from Alma.
From Alma, was it Alma?
Yes, it was.
Yes.
Alma says, "What does it mean when your doctor says you're pre-diabetic? It made me wonder if I was 2 double cheeseburgers away from being diabetic."
I'm sorry. I'm laughing. Thank you, Alma.
But TT, could you speak more on that issue, on the whole concept of pre-diabetes, and where is that a bright line test? Is that a gradation? How do you manage that space?
Again, I want to quote those numbers again. If you are between 5.7 to 6.4% is your A1C level, you are considered pre-diabetes. So where are you on that scale, Alma, right? And if you're at 5.7, get out, walk your 30 minutes, and put the cheeseburger down. You're close to 6.4 now. Let's talk to our doctor. Let's talk to our dietitian and really, really buckle down. And absolutely not the cheeseburger, not 2 of them at the same time anyway. Again, like I said, it's about being intentional and really managing your diet. But look at that range. Ask your doctor, what is my A1C? Today, if you haven't been diagnosed with diabetes, you don't know your A1C, go to diabetes.org/DC risk test, find out your risk. High risk, call your doctor right away. Medium, during your next checkup, let's talk about it. Low, just make sure you are taking heed and understanding what not managing your diet and exercise can end up doing to your body.
I saw a question from Keith Jackson that was flashed up here a while ago. I don't see it. He says, are there any tips for not falling off the wagon, reverting back to old bad diabetes creating habits?
You know, what's interesting is right now, did I tell you I'm enrolled in a public health program?
No, but we can go out to eat and you can tell me.
Okay.
And
what I will say to that question is, again, education is important. I think that if you understand the results of not managing very clearly, it would definitely help you stay on board. If you do your research and see that every 21 seconds someone is diagnosed with diabetes, if you do your research, and I'm going to leave this to the group listening, how many amputations happen a day because of diabetes? Do that research. Believe you me, you will stay on the wagon. If you'll stay on the wagon.
Yeah. And I come from a family. I'm a child born in the 50s, and my brother died of diabetes. Diabetes runs in my family. To my knowledge, I have not received a report that I have diabetes, but I get tested regularly. But we didn't talk about it. And one day, it just seemed like for me, my brother was older, but one day he was here and one day he was gone. But we didn't talk about it. And I think he had kidney failure. And just like that. And I was just like, all this was a result of diabetes. So like you said, TT, you have to do your homework, see what these statistics are saying about the cause and effects of diabetes. And I'm sure it will change the mindset of a lot of people. It will change.
Do what Alvin is doing. You do what Alvin is doing. You bring it to the forefront and you have these conversations, because it's one of the things I find most troubling, right? Is we all have known, loved, and learned from somebody with diabetes. but we never talk about it because it has become this normalized event. And then even at death, like you said, oh, kidney disease, people don't think diabetes. Diabetes was the precursor. So the death certificate may say cardiovascular event,
Right.
but diabetes is what led to the cardiovascular condition, right? Same with kidney, same with amputation. I had one of our board members said that several of her aunts had amputations. And until she was diagnosed with diabetes in her 30s, no one ever said they had diabetes that led to the amputation. The conversation didn't come up until she said she had it. And then they said, oh, that's what Auntie had, and that's why and that was the conversation, nothing else.
The conversation. Well, look, let's get to one more question before we let TT go. You guys, I see one from Gina Lee.
You never let me go. Remember, Alvin?
I will never let you go. Gina Lee says, stay focused, Alvin, stay focused. Gina Lee said, are sugar substitutes good or bad for diabetes?
Again, moderation, caloric intake, making sure that you're paying attention to your carbs and your calories. And each person is so unique that you have to really sit down with a dietitian and understand what works best for you.
Right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us on our Manage Your Health series. And today we're talking about managing and preventing diabetes. And our wonderful subject matter expert, TT, here today from the American Diabetes Association. Thank you so much for being here today. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And any of the resources you need, I can send my email, washdc@diabetes.org. ADA washdc @diabetes.org. I'll send it in the group.
Well, do me a favor. Don't go anywhere because we want to bring you back in a few minutes. So we're going to go to another segment, but we're going to bring you back. But thank you again for being here. We really appreciate this information that you shared with us today so we can share to our viewers and our listeners. So thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yes.
Well, it's that time, ladies and gentlemen, for Black Excellence. And thank you. Oh my, wasn't that an awesome segment, guys? Wasn't that awesome?
That was amazing. I learned so much.
That was amazing. Yeah. I'm like, I'm feeling that. Okay.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, our Black Excellence this week, we are doing it on inventions, basically inventors, people who we feel that we want to recognize for making an invention. So I'm first. And I'm going to, okay, y'all don't be, judging me for where I'm going with this, okay? Look, the person who I'm paying tribute to today, his name is Jack Johnson. He's one of the most interesting inventors ever, not simply because of his invention, but more so because of his celebrated and controversial life. Johnson was born on March 31st, 1878 in Galveston, Texas, under the name John Arthur Johnson. And he spent much of his teenage life working on boats and whatnot along and around the city docks. He began boxing in 1897 and quickly became an accomplished and feared fighter. Standing at a weight that I wish I knew better, Johnson captured the colored heavyweight championship of the world on February 3rd, 1903 in Los Angeles, California, and became the world heavyweight champion in 1908. He defeated Tommy Burns for the title and thereby became the first Black man to hold the world heavyweight title, a fact that did not go over well with his white boxing fans. But Johnson was extremely confident about his capabilities, and he defeated everyone he faced without fail. He also bucked at many of the social rules of the day and openly dated white women. This eventually got him into lots of trouble. And in 1912, when he was arrested for violation of the Mann Act, M-A-N-N, remember that, M-A-N-N Act, a law often used to prevent Black men from traveling with white women. He was charged with taking his white girlfriend, Lucille Cameron, across state lines for immoral purposes. But also, although he and Lucille married later in the year. He was convicted later on by Judge Kennesaw, who later became the commissioner of the Major League Baseball, and was sentenced to federal prison for 1 year. But before he could be in prison, he and Lucille left the country. Well, you know, like all, we come back to the scene of the crime. And when he returned to the United States, he was sent to Leavenworth Federal Prison in Kansas. But while in prison, Johnson needed a tool for which would help him tighten and loosening devices. He therefore crafted a tool and eventually patented it on April 18th, 1922. And ladies and gentlemen, Jack Johnson created the wrench. That thing that y'all got in your house, that all of you got in your home, that you help with some of the things that you do every day, he created the wrench. So remember that. Jack Johnson died on June 10th, 1946 in an automobile accident in Raleigh, North Carolina, and was elected to the Boxing Hall of Fame in 1954. Although many boxing fans are unaware of the life of the first Black heavyweight boxing champion, they probably utilize his invention routinely around their homes each and every day. And before I close out on Jack Johnson, the two-time Academy Award winner, Mursala Ali, will star as the legendary boxing champ Jack Johnson in a 6-part limited series on HBO called Unruly. The series is described as an unapologetically Black, no-holds-barred telling. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sure it's a must-see, but I am recognizing today the first heavyweight champion of the world and the inventor of the wrench, Jack Johnson.
Well done.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think I have the next Black excellence, Black inventor recognition. And this is, again, another common, for those of you parents out there, summer's coming around the corner. And so for all those pool parties, all those cookouts, barbecues where you're around the pool and you're playing with water guns, I am recognizing, I'm very pleased to recognize Lonnie George Johnson, born in Mobile, Alabama. And he is the inventor of the Super Soaker and the Nerf gun. Both two toys that I have had, having 4 kids. I have used these toys, and I never ever knew that this was the Black man who invented them. So,
Wow.
Really interesting career about Mr. Johnson. He was born in Mobile, Alabama, and he was in 1946. And he was influenced by the work of George Washington Carver. George Washington Carver, as we all know, came up with all the many, many inventions using the peanut. Mr. Johnson went to Tuskegee University, where he got his BS in mechanical engineering, and he later got his doctorate in engineering as well, actually nuclear engineering, and he earned an honorary PhD from Tuskegee University. Johnson had a distinguished career at NASA as a nuclear physicist, but he wanted to to go into other things. And so he went into inventing it. And in 1990, he invented the Super Soaker. And shortly after that, he invented the Nerf gun. And as of 2017, Johnson had 2 technologies. This is an African-American who had 2 technology development companies. And they are Acceleron Solid State LLC and Johnson Electrico-Mechanical Systems in Atlanta, Georgia. And again, as it's summer and, warm weather, the world is opening back up, honor this brother and go out and get your Super Soaker and your Nerf gun and have a great time. So my salute is to Lonnie Johnson.
I have definitely had a Super Soaker. Loved it. One of my favorite things for the summer. Yes.
Yeah.
Where were we without the Super Soakers?
But that was spoken like that came from a West Coast state of mind. I just saw it all of that. I love it. I love it.
Hey, we bring it authentic here. He said, right?
I love it.
Yes, indeed. Well, taking you from the past to like the not so distant past to really to the future, I'm going to talk to you guys about Deja Taylor. Now, Deja is actually a student at Iowa City High School in Iowa City, Iowa, of all places, who is gaining notoriety for an invention that she created as her entry into the Regeneron Science Talent Search, which she entered in 2020. Actually, for the 2021 contest. Before COVID, young little Deja was actually very involved in her community. She attended even weekly board meetings for the school district, where she was an advocate for anti-racist curriculum. So she's always been giving back. Now, during the time that she was doing all of this activist work and anti-racist curriculum, she was learning a lot of different things, mainly because of her interest in medicine. I would say like 2 years ago, maybe a little bit earlier, she asked her parents for a suture kit because she wanted to learn how to better perfect her stitch. So when she was a surgeon, she would be really good at it. During this time, she realized and learned that women in developing countries, especially in Africa, that they were 20% more likely to get infections after having cesarean sections during childbirth. Now, she had also learned that scientists were developing sutures that had, sort of conductive material in them that would allow them to interface with apps or computers to tell their doctors when their infections or when their sutures had gotten infected. Well, Deja kind of realized that not all developing countries have access to smartphones at the consumer level, as well as computers at even the hospitals. So she thought that there might be a better solution. When her teacher, Carol Walling, approached her about going into the Regeneron Science Fair, Deja knew she wanted to use her activist work to meet up with her passion, which was medicine. So she started working every Friday with her coach. They learned that normal skin has a pH balance of about 5. But when a wound is infected, the pH goes up to about 9. They also realized that certain fruits and vegetables have a pH change, a color change, when the pH is changed from below 9 to 9. Deja found that beets especially were extremely reactive. So what you're looking at now is part of her experiment, where she took sutures soaked in beet juice on the left at a pH of 5, and they were bright red. But when they changed the pH to 9, the juice changed color to a deep purple. So she's found a low-tech way for people to be able to monitor themselves after surgery to see whether or not they're actually infected. Her invention got her into the top 40 finalists at the Regeneron Science Talent Search. She did not win, but the medical community is rocked by her invention. More research is going into it, but we truly believe that Deja Taylor is going to change the face of medicine and help lots of people in underdeveloped countries heal better and survive. So I applaud Deja Taylor.
Thank you, Vosh. Thank you, Deja.
Awesome. Thank you, Vosh.
Well, we are nearing the end of the show. We have a couple of minutes left, ladies and gentlemen, and we want to let you know that next week our topic is going to be social media etiquette. So please tune in and listen to us. And before we go, we want to give you our words of the week. Take care of your body. It's the only place you have to live in. And if we can bring TT back to say goodbye to everybody, can we bring TT back in the room? We want to thank you all for joining us tonight. And thank you, all of you, Bobby, Chippy, Gina, let me see who else, Monica, Derwin, Keith, a lot of Keiths on here tonight. Thank you all for joining us tonight. And we hope that you will come back next week as we bring to you another episode of He Said.
He said.
He said.
Y'all have a good night.
Hi, everybody.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Thank you.